Good morning, children. Today we are here to learn the new lesson, that is the Mughal Empire. Okay, so the founder of Mughal dynasty was Babur. He invaded India in the year 1526, and after overthrowing the Delhi Sultanate, he established the Mughal Empire in India, or Mughal rule in India, we can say that. Babur, he came at the invitation of Daulat Khan Lodi, the brother of Ibrahim Khan Lodi, who was Ibrahim Khan Lodi, who was the last ruler of the Lodi dynasty of the Delhi Sultanate. Okay, so whereas Daulat Khan, he invited Babur to come and attack the India. As a result, Babur, along with his army, he came to India and invaded India and ended the rule of the Delhi Sultanate. That means he defeated Ibrahim Lodi in the first battle of Panipat in 1526. This is how the Mughal rule started in India, we can say. Okay, and then to say that the founder of Mughal dynasty was Babur, no doubt, and he was ruling a small region in Afghanistan called Kabul. The capital city of Afghanistan right now is Kabul. So he was ruling over that area during that time. Okay, so he invaded India in the year 1526. Okay, so Babur, he belonged to Mongol race. Babur, he belonged to Mongol race. The word Mughal comes from the word Mongol. The word Mughal comes from the word Mongol. You might have heard the name of Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan, who is said to be one of the cruel rulers which the history has recorded. So he belonged to the lineage of such rulers, we can say that. After later he got converted to Islam, and thereafter he started to rule according to the Islamic law, we can say, right? So Babur was the person who introduced rose to India. Babur was the person who introduced rose to India. So Babur period, he starts from 1526 to 1530, 1526 to 1530, we can say that. So coming to the India, we are having the three greatest empires of India here. So the first empire to be established in India was the Mauryan Empire. The Mauryan Empire is the first empire of India, followed by the Gupta Empire, and the third one is the Mughal Empire, we can say. Okay, right? Then after this, as I already told you, that he came at the invitation of what you call Daulat Khan Lodi, the brother of Ibrahim Khan Lodi, and defeated Ibrahim Khan Lodi, where the Delhi Sultanate was at was at its weak point. Okay, so he came and invaded and defeated Delhi Sultanate, we can say that. So that was the end of the Delhi Sultanate. So Babur finally aggressively he conquered Delhi, Agra, and the surrounding areas, but died soon. No doubt he was a good ruler, and he captured or he conquered Delhi, Agra, and surrounding areas, but he died soon. We can say that. And after that, his son Humayun came to the power, or Humayun ascended the throne. So Humayun, he was the son of Babur. He defeated his enemies in the beginning, but he was defeated by an Afghan chieftain called Sher Shah Suri. He lost his kingdom and fled to Persia and stayed there for 15 years. Okay, but when Afghan rule weakened in India, he invaded India and conquered Delhi. He too died in a short period. So okay, after the death of Babur, his son Humayun ascended the throne. Humayun, in the beginning, he defeated his enemies very bravely and sincerely, we can say that. And but what happens is, he got defeated. he got defeated by an Afghan noble or a chieftain by name Sher Shah Suri. By name Sher Shah Suri. So he had to lose his kingdom. That means he lost his kingdom and fled to Persia. After losing his kingdom to Sher Shah Suri, he fled to Persia and stayed there for 15 years. 15 years. He waited 15 years in Persia. Okay, and when Afghan rule weakened, in India, once again he raided India and conquered Delhi, but he could not live for a long time. He died in a short period of time, we can say that. Okay, like Babur, who did not live for a long time in India, like that. Humayun too died soon, we can say. So after this, Humayun's son Akbar, he ascended the throne. His period starts from 1556 to 1605. 1506 to 1605. So Akbar, he dreamt or he aspired to build a vast empire in India. As a result, he urged the mighty Rajput kings to support him in fulfilling his dream. What happens is some Rajput rulers joined him, but one Rana Pratap of Mewad opposed Akbar. One Rana Pratap of Mewad, he opposed Akbar. Okay, so a fierce battle between Rana Pratap and Akbar took place at place called Haldighat in Rajasthan. So there was a fight. There was a fight or a battle between these two, Akbar and Rana Pratap, who did not agree to help Akbar in building a vast empire. So due to this difference of opinion, there was a battle between these two, and finally Rana Pratap had to lose the battle. Rana Pratap of Mewad lost the battle to Akbar, but did not bow to Akbar. Bow to Akbar in the sense, but he did not agree with the Akbar. That means he did not. He said that he would not. That means he could not support Akbar in building a vast empire. Okay, whatever it is. Later, Akbar conquered Gujarat, Bengal, Kashmir, Kabul, and other areas and built vast empire. This is how he fulfilled his dream by building a vast empire in India. So, what were the places conquered by him? He conquered Gujarat, Bengal, Kashmir, Kabul, and other areas, and finally he became successful in fulfilling his dream by building a vast empire. Okay. And to say about Rana Pratap of Mewad here, a huge bronze statue of Rana Pratap Singh riding on his favorite horse Chetak. Okay, riding on his favorite horse Chetak, or as if he's going for a battle, as if he's going for a as if he's going for a battle, sitting on his favorite horse Chetak, was set up at Haldighat after independence. Okay, next come to the achievements of Akbar. So what are the achievements of Akbar we can see here? So he was an able administrator and a broad-minded ruler. Who? Akbar was an able administrator and a broad-minded ruler. He was not despotic. That means he did not take decisions in haste. And as I told you that he became successful in establishing a vast empire, and in order to protect this vast empire, now there is a question of protecting the vast empire. So for this he thought of a plan. How to save his empire or how to secure his empire. Okay, isn't it what I'm telling here? In order to preserve his vast empire, it made him necessary to win the trust of the Hindu nobles and the Hindu Hindu nobles who were working in his kingdom. It became necessary for him to win the trust of his Hindu subjects and the Hindu nobles who formed the majority in the court and in the kingdom. Okay, so he appointed, as a result, he appointed many Hindus to the highest posts in his office or in his court, we can say that. Then he withdrew the taxes, some types of taxes called jizya. Jizya was a tax which was imposed by earlier Muslim kings on Hindus, only on the Hindus, only on the Hindus. Hindus in the sense non-Muslims, those who are not Muslims have to pay the taxes called jizya. Okay, so what did he do? He abolished or he withdrew the taxes. He withdrew the taxes called jizya. Okay, that was levied on the Hindus, we can say that. And thereafter there were some other taxes which were imposed on the only on Hindus, like pilgrimage taxes were there and all. So he withdrew all such taxes. Okay, he withdrew all such taxes in order to save his kingdom and to win the trust of the nobles and his subjects who formed the majority in the kingdom. Okay, not just with this, along with the help of his revenue minister Raja Todarmal, with the help of his minister Raja Todarmal, he reorganized the land revenue system. He reorganized the land revenue system, and it benefited all the people. It benefited all the people. What he did is he fixed the taxes of the lands or the fields based on the fertility of the soils and the irrigation facilities available. This is like, in while making, I told you that Bahmani kingdom, Muhammad Gawan, he too applied the same rule. They fixed the taxes on they fixed the taxes on the fields based on the fertility of the land, and the irrigational facilities and other irrigational and other facilities available there. According to that, they collected the taxes from the people. Okay, and this policy, it benefited all the people. To say that, who was the revenue minister of Akbar here? Raja Todarmal was the revenue minister of the Akbar. Name the taxes that were abolished by Akbar. Taxes like jizya and the taxes which were levied on the Hindus during the time of pilgrimage centers. Pilgrimage centers were withdrew by the Akbar, we can say that. Okay, that we can say that Akbar was a man of religious tolerance. He was tolerant towards the other religions, we can say that. And his courts were open to one and all during his time, and he did not discriminate between the people. We can say, right? Then coming to the religious policy, Akbar was tolerant of other religions, as I just told you that he was tolerant of all the religions. Then Akbar, what he did is he constructed a prayer hall. Which is called Ibadat Khana in his new capital Fatehpur Sikri. So to say that here, what I can say is Fatehpur Sikri is the capital built by Akbar, was the new capital built by Akbar. There he constructed a prayer hall which was called Ibadat Khana. So here he discussed religious matters with the leaders of various Islamic sects. That means he invited the religious scholars. He invited the religious men or the religious scholars of the various Islamic sects. There are many Islamic sects. Okay, sects is nothing but pantagalu anta helti now, sub caste, something like that. Okay, so he called on all these ulemas and all to this Ibadat Khana, where he discussed the religious matters with the various Islamic sects. Keep in your mind, with the various Islamic sects. Okay, then at the same time, not just various Islamic sects, but also he invited Hindus, Jaina, Buddhist, Parsis, and Christian leaders to discuss their view on religious issue. It was not just the what do you call that various Islamic sects. At the same time, he called Jaina scholars, Hindu scholars. That means Hindu pandits, and then Christian priests, Parsis, Buddhists, okay, to discuss their views on the religious issues, to discuss their views on religious issues. So after all such discussions, as a result of these discussions, he evolved a new sect called Deen-e-Ilahi. So this resulted these what they were doing, they were discussing the religious matters. Okay, he was discussing the religious matters with the various Islamic sects and other what you call that and other leaders of the various sects and communities, we can say that. So as a result, it resulted in the emergence of a new sect, Pantha, one more subcaste, like, okay, new sect called Deen-e-Ilahi. If I ask you who is the founder of Deen-e-Ilahi, Deen-e-Ilahi is the founder of Deen-e-Ilahi is the that means was founded by Akbar. Deen-e-Ilahi was founded by Akbar, we can say that. Okay, then this Deen-e-Ilahi it comprised, okay, it comprised of some different best principles of the different religion. It had some best principles of the different religions, but it did not attract many followers. It did not attract the many followers, we can say that. This Deen-e-Ilahi, which was propounded by or propounded by Akbar, did not attract many followers. That means it could attract only very few followers, like Jodha. He is one or two of his family members, we can say that. Okay, though that Deen-e-Ilahi is one of the though Deen-e-Ilahi, it had many good principles or many best principles of the different religions, many people did not get attracted to it. Okay, so here we can say that there was a orthodoxity among the religions, we can say that, right? So next, coming to the patronage to arts. So there were the scholars like Faizi, Abul Fazl and Birbal were distinguished poets of his courts. Who were the distinguished poets of his courts? Faizi, Abul Fazl and Birbal were the distinguished poets of his courts. And children, you are well known about these two persons, that is Akbar and Birbal. There are lots of moral stories on Akbar and Birbal. On many occasions, the Birbal wins against Akbar. Okay, and Akbar, he will be very happy to see Birbal winning the sessions, right? And there was one more person, that is his Tansen, who is said to be the immortal singer. He was a classical Hindustani musician, we can say that. He was a immortal singer, Tansen, and that means he was in the court of Akbar, and he made a notable contribution to painting and literature also, architecture also. Who? Akbar. He made or he supported to contribution to painting and architecture also. Okay, at the same time, after Akbar, Jahangir and Shahjahan, who succeeded Akbar, continued his policies. Jahangir and Shahjahan. See, Babur, and then comes Humayun, and after Humayun comes Akbar, and after Akbar comes Jahangir. So Jahangir, Jahangir is a famous name which we take as Salim Anarkali. You might have seen that movie Pyar Kiya To Darna Kya, or that what you call that, the film the film name is Mughal-e-Azam, in which there is a popular song, प्यार किया तो जब प्यार किया तो डरना क्या, प्यार किया है कोई चोरी नहीं की ही, something चुप चुप किया है भरना क्या, something like that. So it is nothing but it is Jahangir, the son of Akbar. Jahangir, the son of Akbar, Okay, so this Jahangir, and after Jahangir, Jahangir and Shahjahan. After him, Shahjahan, who succeeded Akbar, continued his policies. That I mean to say that after Akbar, Jahangir and Shahjahan were the two persons who succeeded him, who succeeded Akbar, continued his liberal policies. That means the Mughal courts were open to one and all during the period of Akbar, Jahangir, and Shah Jahan. We can say that. So you might be knowing that world famous Taj Mahal, a symbol of love, which was built in memory of Mumtaz Begum or Mumtaz Mahal by Shah Jahan. Okay, she was the wife of Shah Jahan, and after her death, he built Taj Mahal, which is one of the wonders of the world even today, and it still exists today. Okay, uh, okay. So that is the contribution of Shah Jahan. We can say that Shah Jahan was not just did not build these the things. At the same time, he also built a Red Fort at Delhi. A Red Fort at Delhi. Okay, on days like Republic Day, the President of India will hoist the national flag. Okay, on Red Fort of Delhi, and on Independence Day, Prime Minister will hoist the national flag, and they give the message to the country. Okay, and other places were also built by Shah Jahan. We can say that. Okay, but at the same time, he did not leave his enemies go. He did not leave his enemies go. He was the person who was also a good ruler, and a good what do you call that, who paid contribution or more attention to the art and architecture. We can say that. Who? Shah Jahan. We can say that. And Jahangir, to say about Jahangir is that Jahangir was more interested in the art of painting than in the warfare. Of course, he was more interested in the art of painting than in the warfare. We can say that. Okay. Mm, right. So we will discuss in the next class.